to the Mother Flutter podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Sawakis, and we're back. We are indeed back. Thank you for being here. And today I'm going to get right into it. I am still not done talking about the telepathy tapes. So this is a part 2. I have a bit more to say about this. I've got my notes, I've got my water, I've got my microphone, and we're here and we're doing it. So let's do it. There's a few things I didn't really get into as deeply that I want to get into. Also, if you didn't listen to the last episode, Telepathy Tapes is a podcast I'm recommending to you. I've never recommended a podcast to my audience or to, I don't recommend podcasts. This is the only one. But it's basically a podcast put out by this woman. Her name is Kai Dickens, and it's about nonverbal autistic kids and basically how they have proven telepathy. Not the kids, but all these, institutions and scientists and researchers and just so many people. Too much evidence to deny at this point. It has blown my mind. It's the best thing I've listened to all year, and I just highly recommend it. I totally binged it. They keep putting out new episodes, but there's a few things I didn't get to in the last episode that I want to comment on. One is pets and animals, like pet psychics, and there was actually one instance in the podcast where a pet psychic really turned a skeptic who was like, this can't be real. And then this pet psychic, this woman, turned this woman because she gave her information that there was no way for her to possibly know. I also want to talk a little bit more about like ghosts and the paranormal. My dead grandmother visits me all the time. So a lot of this stuff is like not new to me, not new to women, not new to, nonverbal autistic kids or spiritual people, but it's like, it's finally being validated by, institutions and science. And I feel like that's what's kind of happening in the world right now is we've come to, put all of our reliance on these institutions, on Ivy League schools, and which, they're just made up. We just made those up too, or a bunch of elite rich white guys made those up, and we put all our stake into that, institutions like that, and like the material world, and like what is real, this desk that I just knocked, my flesh, but there's just, it's just scratching the surface of like what is here. And this podcast, the Telepathy Tapes, and hopefully this podcast as well, Mother Flutter, is just really starting to like reveal that we've only been focusing on, 1% or 0.001% of the whole picture here. And I think that in order for us to like build this new world that takes into account, energies and spirituality and nonverbal communication and, the unseen, we do need these institutions, or at least a handful of people in them, to get on board. And it's happening. It's happening and it's exciting, and we're merging the two worlds, which I think is beautiful because it's not one or the other. It's not all science or all woo. It's a beautiful marriage between the two. And that's basically why I created this podcast. So yeah, I want to talk about ghosts. I also want to talk about dreams and the subconscious and the dream world, and how, we can communicate when we dream of someone. There's validity in that, and there's been cultures for millennia that have been working with dreams and dream worlds, and our dreams is how our subconscious works things out. And I actually recently learned that there's certain indigenous cultures that don't differentiate between the dream world and the quote unquote real world or imagination. Like it's all quote unquote real to them. Yeah. So let's get into dreams here just real quick. I love this idea that like these cultures aren't even differentiating between dream world and quote unquote real world, because our subconscious mind is actually running the show. Like the most effective healing work I've done in all the different therapies I've tried is working with the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind isn't something you can easily like tap into and be like, hey, what are you thinking up there? You know, it's subconscious, below conscious. So a lot of the choices that we make that, just seem like stupid patterns we keep repeating could be a subconscious block where we're actually self-sabotaging ourselves because somehow or somewhere deep down, we don't believe we're worthy of the alternative to those habits and receiving good things. EMDR is, I've talked about this in one of the earlier episodes about most helpful therapies I've tried. Stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That is how I found my therapist, and you can find a therapist who specializes in this at EMDR. EMDRIA.org. EMDRIA.org. You can find a therapist who specializes in EMDR. And what it is basically it puts you into this like waking dream state. So you're awake, but it's almost like you're having this really intense daydream, and you go back and you reprocess traumatic memories so that you can change them or you reprocess them. You reprocess them when you are in a safe environment, when you're not in survival mode, and you just like work through that shit. It changed my life, night and day difference. And then, even things like psychedelics are psychedelic therapy is a way to get into your subconscious mind. Back to dreams. Dreams are free. We do them every night, whether we like it or not. And if I write down my dreams every single morning. The first thing I do, I pee, I make coffee, I sit down, I write my dreams, and then I do my morning pages. So it's all kind of the same thing, but and often I can't remember them, but I really, really try hard to, because that is your gateway, your everyday gateway into your subconscious mind. And our dreams tell us things. Before I had worked out some of the really, really heavy traumas from my past, I would have nightmares every night. I would have nightmares about being attacked and trying to fight back and being unable to. Like I couldn't punch, I couldn't scream. I would try to, it was terrible. It was awful. I would have these nightmares all the time. I would wake up sweating, crying. I don't have them anymore because I worked through that stuff through EMDR and, equine therapy and psychedelic assisted therapy. And your subconscious mind, I think that we can really work stuff out with other people in our lives. Like if we're having a dream with someone, maybe they're working something out with us or we're working out with them. It's hard to say, like who's to say, how these things come to be. But I don't think they're necessarily having the exact same experience. But neither are we having the exact same experience, in what we believe is reality here right now. Like we're not necessarily having the same experiences in this plane that we call reality, this physical plane. So, one person can think everything is is great and going fine and feeling dandy about life, and the other person can be full of, resentment and angry about something they haven't expressed, or just having a completely different experience. And I think the same is true for dreams and when we're dreaming about people in our lives. So yeah, I really think dreams are important, and in the telepathy tapes, there were instances where a mother and son were having communication in their dreams, and the next morning, the son, while not able to, verbally communicate with words, as I'm doing right now, he held up like a playing card that was very, a key feature in the dream, and he held it up in real life, and she was like, oh shit, okay, this is real. And they continued to do that with music, certain songs, that would be featured in the dream. And then the son would play the song on the piano the next day, like communicating with her, hey, I can visit you here. So I think that there's really something interesting here in terms of being able to tap into dream world in a more controlled and intentional way, which is pretty amazing. And back in the day, I did a little bit of experimenting with lucid dreaming and was able to do a little bit of it in the past. I haven't tried in a really long time, and I'm not sure what else to say about that, but I just think it's fascinating. And it's just, we think of reality in terms of what is physically here, what we can feel, physically, and what is made up of matter. But it's just, I think we're just scratching the surface if we just think about it in terms of that. Okay. I also want to just talk a little bit more about, how quote unquote spelling, which is what the form of communication these kids are using to communicate, which often involves a, guide or facilitator that helps them basically type on a keyboard or an iPad. And this was shunned from practice and, said that it was not credible because of one case where a girl came out about sexual abuse. And I touched a little bit on this in the last episode, and they have talked about it a little bit more extensively in new episodes, thank God. But I just want to comment on, there was this whole trend in the 90s where people who had come out with sexual abuse allegations, and there was this whole fake gaslighting trend where, it's false memory system, and these therapists are planting information in these patients' head. That's been debunked. That was a really small trial of 15 people. It was not found to be credible. And if you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score, forgetting trauma and blocking it out and it resurfacing years later is extremely common regardless the type of trauma. So this happens with train accidents, car accidents, war veterans, sexual abuse. No matter the trauma, it's extremely common and very much a part of the pattern with big T, quote unquote, big T trauma, to block something out and have it resurface years later. In my experience, it wasn't it never existed. For me, it was I always knew what happened, but I denied it to myself because I had to survive and, get on with my life and be around that person. And so I always kind of knew, but I was able to just like push it down until I couldn't anymore. And oftentimes when it is time for it to come up and for you to face it, it can feel really scary and really, it will shake your whole world. I got very, very physically sick. It was extremely hard, but what it means and what I've been told that it means, and in my experience, it's you're safe enough now to like face it and deal with it, because it's not going to go away on its own. It's you're just going to find ways to self-destruct, and it will eat at you and destroy you from the inside if you do not face it and deal with it. So when it is time for it to come up, it means that you're safe enough to deal with it. And I guess that's just what I wanted to say about that. And I think, it's just time our society stops living in denial about kids or adults that come forward about childhood sexual abuse. And it's time for us to stop looking the other way, because it makes us uncomfortable and because it's going to shatter entire institutions in some cases. It's time to face it and heal it. It's time to face it and heal it. There's not much more to it than that, but people don't lie about stuff like that for attention. There's a lot of ways to get attention on the internet and in the world, and that is not a fun way to get attention. And that is it's also not very effective, because as you see the patterns, when people do come out about it, they get gaslit and they get smeared and they get called crazy. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So let's take it in a lighter direction here. Animal communication is another big one. They talk about pet psychics and, so horses, for one. My experience with horses is they are psychic. Equine therapy is so special because you can't lie to a horse. It knows you're bullshitting. If you say you're fine and you're not, like, it's going to be real obvious. And so working with horses forces you to be radically honest about your emotions. And if you're not comfortable with your emotions, it is very confronting, but also very effective. Because again, just like trauma, if we don't learn to face our emotions and feel them, they will eat us from the inside and self-destruct. Speaking all from experience here. This is what happened to me. These are the patterns I experienced until I started really working through my own bullshit. And it's so hard to imagine, how long I was living that way. But it was a coping mechanism, and coping mechanisms work until they don't. They're survival tactics that we often needed as kids to survive, and we take them with us into adulthood, and then they become maladaptive. And that's what was happening with me. It was, okay, this is not working. My life is not working. And at a certain point, you can only look at yourself. We're all sovereign grown adults here. For the most part, I assume. One of my favorite quotes ever, but specifically about trauma, is, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And I think, with horses, I feel like most, if not all, animals are, a little bit psychic, but I think we inundate ourselves with so much noise and outside influence, and authority, and we're trained to override our gut feelings. Like it's literally kind of beaten into us in culture to override our gut feelings. Like, oh, you're being paranoid, or oh, just be nice. Just be nice. You're being judgmental, when you have like a gut feeling about someone and you override it, or a gut feeling about a job or anything. Like we're just constantly taught to override our feelings. And so it's no wonder we're not in touch with them and we don't know how to deal with them. But I feel like animals, they bring us back to the present, and they aren't living with all that bullshit external noise, which makes them so awesome. So if you don't have a pet, maybe you should. Maybe you should. There's one story in the telepathy tapes about this cat psychic, right? She turns this skeptic into a believer because she says things about the cat that there's no way for her to know. I believe it had to do with her name, like her previous name and then her new name. And anyways, the cat wanted the lady to know that, like, when she leaves for a period of time, the cat just wants to know, like, how long and what to expect. And I wanted to tie this into a story about a woman that I met recently on the summer solstice. If you know me, you know that I buy myself flowers every week. And then when they're about to die, I cut them off and I go make like little public art with them, or I'll often put them in like little rivers and streams and pools and things like that. And I usually never get caught doing it, which is kind of how I like it, because I like it to be like a mystery. And I've also like gotten to witness people not see me do it, but then witness them coming up into like the flower, whatever it's like a mandala, or maybe it's a pool, like a little waterfall with rose petals, and just seeing their like, oh my god, this is so magical, just seeing like the awe, and it's really special. But anyway, so on the summer solstice, I was putting my rose petals in this little pool by a waterfall in the woods that I go to. And this woman comes up. She's like, oh my god, are you the lady that like puts the flowers in here? And I was like, just did it. And I was like, oh no, but anyways, I admitted it, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours in the woods, like until it got dark. And she turned out to be an animal communicator, like an animal psychic basically, but she, refers to herself as an animal communicator. And, we've kept in touch. We exchanged numbers, and I had to go away on a work trip and asked her, I sent her a couple pictures of my cats and said, hey, if you just wouldn't mind giving me a little insight into like how to make this an easier trip for my cats. And it was so funny because she had not listened to the telepathy tapes, and she had wanted to. I told her about it. She's like, I haven't done it yet. And she told me the exact same thing that the woman in the telepathy tapes told the other lady, which is that your cats just want to know how long you'll be gone. And you can send them images. They don't think in time in terms of like days or hours like we do. We're just kind of all made up anyways, but they think in terms of sun up and sun down. So she was like, look at a picture of them, like getting your heart space, sending them like that love energy from your chest, and show them in terms of sunset and sunrises, how many sunsets and sunrises it'll be until you come back, and show them, their cat sitter coming in and checking on them and loving on them. And that is how you can send them like those images. And so I did that, and I actually ended up just commuting from Austin to San Antonio because the hotel was not it. It was too much fragrance, couldn't open the windows, started to just like flush up immediately. Beside the point, I just commuted because I didn't want to leave my little babies, and I didn't have to. I could just drive a lot every day. Something else about this woman that I met during the solstice, and obviously if you can't tell yet, she's also very into metaphysical and spiritual, weird spiritual stuff, as I am. If you can't tell by now. And yeah, we met on the summer solstice, and then we have been keeping in touch, and we met again unplanned on the Lionsgate portal, which is the second most significant astrological event that's happened since the solstice. And we met in the same spot. And it's just so funny because it was unplanned, not at like the usual time. It was at a totally different time than the first time, totally different day. And that's just not telepathy, but there's no coincidences is what I'm saying. And there's signals that we're sending out just all the time. And the first time she said that her dog actually led her down there. She was just going to go on a walk around the block, and her dog, a German Shepherd, was really insistent about going on the trail. And that's how we met. So super interesting. There's also been like, I think art and creativity can be a form of telepathy. I've had experiences where I have painted something and then not knowing, just like seen somebody else wearing like almost the same exact design, colors in their fabric like a couple days later. And just again, like there'd be no way for them to know. Same with just like, I'm getting into like learning about Egyptian mystery schools and who Mary Magdalene really was. Not a prostitute, if you didn't know. She was a high priestess and independently wealthy and revered, and Jesus' spiritual equal. But we'll go to that in a new episode. But anyways, just like looking at things I painted and drew in my teens that like make so much spiritual sense to me now, where you're like, oh, you're picking up on things. And I think I'm not saying I'm special. Like I think we're all just always picking up on things. And for me, it gets stronger if I am tuning out just like the noise of every day. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Kind of just going through the notes here. I feel a little rusty, but we're doing it, we're doing it. We're DIYing it. It's going to be raw and imperfect. And that's, maybe that's what you like about it. That's what I like about a lot of podcasts. But yeah, I've had, weird, it feels weird to say premonitions, but it's true. Like I was doing this community rock garden project, and I was painting all these rocks. And one of them said like cracks let the light in, and very few of them had words or phrases. I think that was the only one that had a phrase on it. And, it's not something I like think about too often. I do like the phrase. But I found out a couple days later that my friend had broken his leg, like that same day. So just weird stuff like that. And I'm not saying that, I'm special. I think we all have these capabilities. Am I a little quote unquote neurospicy? Like most definitely. But I think that we all have access to this. It does seem to be getting louder for me in the last year, and I think it has to do with a few different things. Meditating 15 minutes every day. I also do my walk in the woods every morning. I don't take my phone and I don't listen to headphones anymore. I think when I stopped listening to stuff on my phone and stopped bringing my phone, it started really amping things up. And yeah, right now my phone is turned off in a drawer, and it has been since last night. So if you need me, don't. I just really try to like cut the noise. My current work life is less chaotic than it was previously. And I'm really prioritizing creativity. I'm painting a lot and drawing and I just like living from my heart and gut and not my head. Obviously I'm still in my head. And like the thinking mind is great and all, but I think we're just living too much there. And our culture is just too focused on the mind, when like I've heard there's 3 brains, right? Your heart, your gut, and your head. And you know, Western culture is just all head all the time. One thing, I did get off meds last year. I was on some pharmaceuticals for a couple of years. And I think they, you know, I'm not totally anti-meds. I think they can help. They definitely helped me. They helped me go into that heavy trauma to heal it, because it was such an upheaval. They did help me. I think that they can help people create better habits. And I will say though that I had a really good baseline. Like I didn't try meds until I was doing everything I could, like exercising, eating healthy, sleeping well, meditating. You know, I got a planner, I'm seeing a therapist, I have community and friends and healthy relationships and a stable job and supplements. I tried supplements, although in retrospect, I really wish I would have tried a little harder on the supplement route before saying like, oh, these 3 things didn't work, you know, plus a multivitamin. Because I take like 20 supplements a day now and I feel great, not gonna lie. So I really wish I would have tried the supplements a little harder. And also, ChatGPT helped recommend some really great supplements for me. So maybe you could ask ChatGPT what supplements would be good for, you know, what ails you. But I think that, our food supply, like a vast majority of it is produced to be just like profitable. So cheap, long shelf life and plentiful. And unfortunately, that means the integrity of food isn't, you know, at its full potential in terms of nutrients, etc. So I feel like we should all be supplementing. But yeah, one thing that's interesting is, you know, like I said, I've been off pharmaceuticals for over a year now, and I'm painting again, like a lot. And a lot, even like a lot for someone with a full-time job. And I've always been creative and I've always nurtured that part of myself, but it's definitely louder and I love it. Like it is my favorite gift of neurospiciness. Like creativity is the medicine. And I just think it's really interesting that that I feel that pull to create a lot more without the meds. Not anti-meds. Everyone's experience is going to be different. This has been my experience. Did I want to say anything else about that? Oh yeah, I think it's like I said, I don't think you know, these kind of like premonition-y telepathy type experiences that I've had make me unique. I think we all have the ability to tap into this stuff. And I think the more I turn down the noise on the external, you know, not having something in my ears every moment of the day, not constantly scrolling on my phone and listening to what other people think about things. Like the more I get quiet and especially in nature. And the more I just allow myself to like be bored and with myself, the stronger these kind of, I don't know, psi phenomenon, psi abilities become. And I think that is like not an accident. We're just inundated with noise, whether it's through reading, advertisements, music, commercials, just visual, just stimulation, input. There's no blank space to hear. You know what I mean? And I feel like the more I turn off the noise, the better my life is, to be honest, just all around. So even if it's for an hour a day, just, I can't tell you how nice it is to just turn off the phone and put it in a drawer. And to just go out in the woods. Like it was uncomfortable at first because I was listening to podcasts and stuff. And I listen to podcasts when I cook and clean. And, like I'm not a monk over here. That's for sure. Like I'm going to eat pizza and watch the last episode of And Just Like That tonight. But I did just cancel my Netflix subscription. And I'm going to cancel Hulu. Because again, like I just feel like even the streaming is like a lot of noise. And I'll buy it again when, like the right comedy special that I want to see is on, or, whatever. But it's just constant noise. You know what I mean? Like we're just constantly reading, watching, consuming, and we just have no time to be alone with our thoughts. And it's like, going back to creativity as the medicine, I was looking through some old journals and sketchbooks, and like when I was a teenager, I wrote a lot more poetry, and I feel like my voice just shook because that was a little embarrassing for me to say. But yeah, I would write poetry, and I would often like start the poem or like the little whatever I was doing in this creative notebook, like I came here to purge. And I feel like that's what creativity is. And if we're not doing it, like that's when we start to self-destruct. And so if we're just consuming all the time and we're not creating, like it's just, if it's just all input, and like you don't have that output to balance it, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to take up painting. You know what I mean? Like this is, podcasting is creative. Like, I don't know, dance, like woodworking, cooking, baking, making clothing, gardening, like just metalwork, like whatever, like you're interested in, you can do. But I feel like if we don't have the balance of the input and the output, it's going to make us sick. I mean, that's how I feel sick if I'm not doing it. I really do. I just start to feel like cloudy and kind of just like foggy and just icky. And it's like hard to put my finger on. And sometimes I don't even know it's happening until I start making stuff. And it is kind of the world we live in. Like I get stuck in the scroll, and I get tired after work and just want to watch a movie like anybody. But it's just like a discipline, I guess. I know I hate that word. It's so annoying. But it's like the long term. It's sacrificing the short term pleasure for the long term gain. And I feel like it's not too late to like train ourselves away from the cheap dopamine, or at least take breaks from it. So that's what I've been doing, is taking breaks from it. So I went off on a neurospicy tangent, but that's probably why you're here. Maybe you like the neurospicy tangents. And if you don't, I'm sorry, but there's about 1 billion other podcasts out there that you can try. But okay, one thing I want to talk about is like, and if I already mentioned this stuff, sorry, I don't remember and I don't listen to these. But charlatans. Everyone's like, oh, psychics, telepathy, just a bunch of charlatans in those industry. Dude, there's charlatans in every industry. Like, speaking of medicine, let's talk about health insurance for a minute, okay? I got health insurance last year, and I was like, oh, cool, like my prescriptions are going to be free. Nope. Twice as expensive as out of pocket. With insurance, premium insurance, like $150 a month through my employer. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to pick the good one that like everything is covered, and I'll just pay more because if I go to the doctor, I just want to make sure everything is covered. And I go to this like little mom and pop pharmacy, and I was like, how is it more expensive? I have insurance now. It's twice as expensive as out of pocket. This makes no sense. And they kind of rolled their eyes because they're so used to it. Like, not at me, but at the insurance companies. Like, yeah, it's because blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever fucking bullshit kind of policy that they made it make sense in 7 different fiery hula hoops that they're make you jump through, and somehow legally they're entitled to charge you twice as much for your prescriptions even though you're paying them to cover you for medical expenses. How about that as a charlatan? Okay, I went to immediate care with strep throat, like pretty basic visit. They charged me $200 for that. With health insurance, like this makes no sense. So, there's charlatans in every single industry, every single one. And I feel like with this stuff, like, you got to just trust your gut, like, I see, an integrated healer, and she doesn't advertise the fact that she's like a little bit psychic and, other things. I don't know all the terms for all the like the noises and the whatever, you know what I mean? She doesn't advertise it, but I know because I talked to her. And like, just like listen to your gut, and your gut is going to get stronger the more you prioritize getting quiet with it and like allowing yourself to be bored. Remember boredom? Let's bring boredom back. That's what I'm trying to do right now, because I feel like good stuff comes out of boredom. Bad stuff can come out of boredom too, but anyways, I don't have insurance right now because I don't believe in it. I could get it through my employer, but like I kind of team prevention over here, yeah, team prevention, supplements, exercise, sunshine, nature, technology, hygiene, healthy relationships, community, yoga, salt bath, good sleep, meditation, purpose, spiritual connection. Maybe try that. That sounded really condescending, but I guess I'm just so frustrated with our medical system, and it's not designed to heal people. It's designed to keep us sick, because if you heal people, they are no longer a lifelong customer. That's how they see us, not as patients, but they see us as customers. And it's all about profit, and it's not about healing. It's not about health. Not in the US. So all this to say, there's scammers in every single industry. And, the most like psychic, telepathic people I have met, they actually do other stuff. They don't advertise. They use these gifts in their life and in their work. But if people come to them and ask, for readings or intuitive sessions, like they go from there. But I've at least the ones I've met. Now, I've never gone and seen a psychic. I'm certainly open to it, but I don't really feel called to seek that out. Yeah. Animals. I just have a note that says animals. They know when you're sad. They know when I'm, mine have definitely like known when I'm mad at a guy I was dating. One time my cat Doots, oh my God, I still laugh about it every time I think about it. But I was dating this guy, And this is like a little TMI, but that's what podcasts are about, right? So he spanked me like really, like we were like, not, it wasn't like sexual, like we were wearing clothes, and we were like about to leave, and he just like spanked me really hard. It was playful, but it was like he meant it playfully, but it was like it was really really hard. I think harder than he intended. He was a bigger guy, and I was like kind of yelped. I was like, "What the fuck? Ow!" And my cat, he like said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and they like walked out of the room, and my cat literally like charged him. My like 10-pound cat charged this 6'4", I don't know, 230-pound man. Like it was, he didn't like get his ankles or anything, but he just charged him like, "Yeah, you better run." It was so freaking cute. Oh my God. There was another guy I was dating, and I had been upset about, I forget, I think he like blew me off or something, and I was really upset, and then he came over and my cat just like stared him down the entire time, just like sitting up real straight and just like unrelenting, like just stared him down. Not even like aggressively, just like, "I know what you did. I see the truth here. What are you're just gonna pretend like everything's fine?" "No, I know the truth. I see who you are." It was hilarious. And this cat is very protective of me. Okay. Gosh, I always get on here and I'm like, "Oh, it's going to be like quick 15-minute pod here. Just got some notes to go through." And then it's like an hour. I'm a chatty gal. I'll tell you what, neurospiciness, it's going to take us down all sorts of loops and nooks and crannies and ravines. Okay, all this to say, telepathy is real, and these psi abilities are real. Nonverbal autistic kids are tapping into them in full force. And I really think that we can too. Like, I think this is a human thing that we've lost touch with because of all GD noise in our world. And I you know, you don't need a computer chip implanted in your brain or whatever this Neuralink bullshit is. Like, in fact, please don't. Please don't. I'm getting a psychic download right now that's a terrible idea, and like just a way to program us nonstop as if they're not already. So yeah, you don't need Neuralink to get telepathic abilities. You just need to go in the woods for 30 minutes a day without your phone, or maybe try meditating for 15 minutes a day first. Maybe just try that before you get the computer chip implanted in your brain with nonstop noise. Yeah, don't recommend it. Really, really think it's a bad idea. So yeah, I'm definitely pro denoising, being nature, being bored, creating. We've really lost the ability to be bored, and I think it's showing. And I think it's not that cute on us. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I think the noise is like, it's just other people's noise and other people's agenda all day. You know, it's all day. It's all day. So, you know, with these messages these kids are sharing too in the telepathy tapes, a lot of the common thread is like about love and about unifying love and healing and alternative healing methods, right? Massage, herbalism, naturopathy, energy healing, crystals. Yeah, that's right. The geniuses like crystals, okay? Okay, for everyone who's ever hated on crystals, the savants support crystal healing. And just, yeah, saunas, all these alternative healing that, they burned the witches over. Why would they do that? Because they were a threat to traditional medicine that has become a profit machine. Still is. Why is this stuff labeled woo and crazy? Because it is a threat to the traditional, quote unquote, profit medicine machine. Okay? This was not that long ago. Okay? It's very profitable for the new medical establishments and pharmaceutical industries that were taking hold at that time to burn those women 300 years ago, and to still call us crazy and gaslight us today and silence us and censor us. Why do you think that is? If they weren't a threat, why would that be necessary? Are you seeing the patterns, guys? Are you seeing the threads? Okay. Highly recommend listening to the Telepathy Tapes podcast. It's on Spotify. I don't promote podcasts, okay, except mine. And even then, barely. I have never recommended a podcast. Like, there's pods I listen to every single week, and I don't tell people about them because they're going to find their own pods, that they like and that they listen to. But everyone that I know that has listened to the Telepathy Tapes is like freaking out about it. Like, it's so good. It's so good. It's going to change our world, our landscape. I'm so excited about it. I really want you guys to just hear it. And it's really important. Like, it's part of how we're going to build the better world, okay? The better harmonious systems, okay? Please listen. It's so good. I promise. Okay. I think that's it. I feel like there was one more thing, but we'll just, if you are enjoying this podcast, share it with a friend. I also have a Substack, a free Substack. It's just my name, Sarah Sawakis. And I'm on Instagram and TikTok under my name, Sarah Sawakis, Sarah with an H, Saweikis. And I have a paid tier of Substack coming soon where I'm going to start getting even juicier, even more raw, and just offering secret podcast episodes and rituals and juicy, top secret essays. So you can find me there and on socials. But share this if you like it. I'd love to grow here. Really want to bring video in the next year. And I know I keep saying more guests, but I do kind of like doing it alone too. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening and being here. Really enjoy doing this. And I know that you're not talking back, but it feels like I'm having a conversation with you, and just really grateful for your listening ears and listening hearts, and just keep spreading love, you guys. Okay, toodaloo. See you next time.